for Bargain Bead Box. It's Randy for Thunderhorse Descendant. I'm so excited to be back here. I'm super excited because we get to use patina paints. Patina paints. I love me some patina paints. Shake, 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 shake the patina paints. Here we go. Let's get down to the mat. Spill things all over. Get down to the mat. Get this party started. Alrighty, peoples. Here we are down on the mat. So these are all the things we're going to be using for this necklace. So this is project number 2. It is a necklace that we are going to make, but we're gonna do a little patina painting on ours, make it our own, that kind of thing. So what I'm going to be using is I've got 21 gauge square wire in bronze. So 21 gauge square, 22 gauge round bronze, 24 gauge round bronze. The colors that I'm going to be using for patina paint is jade and rust. And then I have one of the little pendants, one of the Z beads, one of these little, well, actually I have 3 of these little bicones, the larger bicones, 2 of the smaller Z beads, 4 links, and 3 of these spacer beads. And I will be adding a piece of deerskin lace leather. This is black, and it is 4 millimeters wide. And I haven't measured how long it is, but I'm not quite sure how much length we're really going to need anyway. So we'll get to that when we get to that. So let me get some of this lined up for our painting process, and I will be right back. Alright, so I got us lined up for our painting portion of this. And I'm just going to be doing a little bit of dry brushing on some of these components and possibly the leather, depending on where I land with that. I'm trying to cut this paper towel, and it's like I have the dullest scissor in the world. Anyways, so I'm just going to be wiping it off with this paper towel. So when doing this, excuse me, I'm going to be dry brushing. So I'm going to be using 2 different colored brushes. And hope you guys can see me here. I'll zoom in a little more on my stuff. And for this, I'm just putting a little dab here, a little dab here. This is all I'm doing. This is at your own discretion. I don't know that I'll do all of these. And then as they're drying down, I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to wipe some of it away. So I really wanted to do this one because it has these little holes in it, and I knew that it was going to be pretty cool looking. So I'm just kind of, this stuff dries down pretty fast. So it's going pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and switch over into the orange. And again, I'm just kind of doing a little here, doing a little there. Can always redo it if you didn't get what you wanted the first time. No biggie. And just kind of dabbing with this cloth. Now I chose these colors simply because I like them. If you had other colors you wanted to use, you could do that as well. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side of these. Bum, 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 bum. Alrighty. So those look pretty good. I'm gonna let them dry a little bit. Oh, if you hear some noises, we are working studio and I have dogs. That's what's happening. Per usual. Everybody gets riled up. So those pieces are drying. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the leather. And I'm just going to do the smooth side of the leather. I think I got to grab maybe a dry paintbrush. Well, let's see. This might not be too bad. And I'm just going to go with the green first, and I'm just literally brushing it on to the leather. Just for giggles. That's what I'm doing. Just want to get some brush strokes on there and up here as well. Perfect. Now wash my brush out, because when using patina paints, if you leave any of that on your brush, it's gonna ruin your brush and you're gonna have to throw it away. So now I'm gonna go with the orange as well on the leather. You wouldn't have to do both, but I'm just like, why not? Why not do both? So now this one I'm using a little softer brush with the orange, so I might get more than bargain for here. So start small. Just barely going. And there we go. Perfect. Easy peasy. Now rinse that out. And now I can put some of this aside here. And what I'm going to do next is, I do have a vintage reliefing block, and this gray is the most the gritty side, this one. So I'm going to take this and I am going to sand these a little smidge, and all this is going to do is going to take a little bit of that paint off of there to make it, give it that, you know, shined up look, and that's what I want. So you can see how when I do that, it's taking the paint off of the top of the texture. Ooh. Alright, so that one looks pretty good. I want it to look kind of old. They're kind of an interesting shape, so it makes it a little bit harder to pull onto it. Where'd it go? As I throw it on the floor just to make sure it's safe. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then these guys as well. Give them a little once over. Going to do both sides. Alright, we're good to go. Now, if you wanted to seal these, Vintage makes a sealer. I'm not going to seal mine because the only one I have is the glossy. They do have a matte sealer, so it makes it not so glossy because I want this to look vintage. So they do have a matte sealer, but I don't have that. I only have the glossy one. So I'm just not going to seal them, but I've not had any problems with that being an issue when you don't seal it. So you do what you think is best. All right, our leather's dry and good to go. I'm just gonna kind of make sure everything's good, looks good. Just kind of give that paint a little time to set in right with the workings of the leather. So that looks good. Those are good to go. I'll put those to the side. And remove this. And we are off to the races. So first things first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these to the side. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put these together. I'm looking around like, why don't I have a mat? I do have a mat. Here's a mat. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to wire these in a circle. So to do that, I'm going to use 22 gauge wire. So the idea here is that this is going to sit on top of this bead. So I want the circle that I'm going to make to be about smaller than this, as large or smaller than this bead. So I'm going to get a little smidge of wire here. I'm thinking about 6 inches or so. And what I'm going to do to start out with, because I've never done this before, just making things up as I go along over here, is I'm going to put this through here and then go back down to kind of create a loop. I'm going to bring that over to the side here and I'm just going to twist it on to start. Okay, so the idea, I'm going to kind of make a shape here with this bead. The idea is to wire wrap these around this way. So now that I have that one on there, I got to put on the next one. Let's see, what would be the best situation for this? Let me put this on there, see what I'm working with. Okay, so go down and up, just like sewing. And this doesn't have to be pretty or anything, this is just functionality. Uh-oh. Okay, I gotta get... I didn't have it tightened up when I pulled it. And now this one, I'm going to go down. And since we're using wire to do this, it's going to make it a little more easier to shape, I feel. Okay, and then we're going to go down in this one to bring it all together. I'm going to go around again just because I don't know if I caused any problems with my wire when I pulled that one side. So I want to make sure that's going to stay. So I'm going to go around again, but this is what it's going to look like. So I'm just literally sewing through the holes, down and up, down and up. The second round is going a lot better than the first. Nobody's surprised. I want to make sure I get all this slack out of the wire though. And up again. And down. And up. And down. And all around. And then I believe this is the last one. Yes, that is the last one. Okay, so now since that is the last one, I'm going to kind of tip everything in a little bit. And now my mission is to just hide all this, to tie this off and hide all this wire. So the moral of the story is that this is to act as a bead cover for this bead, which I believe it is going to do that, so I'm happy with it. So I just am going to tie this off by wrapping it around this like hinge here. I'll go 2 times. That should be pretty sufficient. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it off towards the outside just in case and tuck it in. Cool. So I'm just going in and I'm just trimming that original tail off a little bit and just kind of making things look like they're together in here in the middle. Everything looks pretty good, I believe, and just kind of pushing everything down to kind of work harden it a little bit. There we go. Yay. Okay, I'm super happy with it. Alrighty, so that is step 1. Well, 12 or whatever we're on. So now it's wired. Now I could use it as a bead topper. So I put that over there. Now we're going to move on to this part. Now I want to check So, yeah. I was just checking because one of my beads was bigger than the other, but I think I'll use the small one. I think this is going to be fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the square wire, and I am going to do some wrapping and some twisting and stuff, so I'm going to get an excessive amount. I'm going to get 1 loop, 2 loops of the square. So I got 2 loops of square. Just going to unwind this so it looks like a U, right? And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this right here. So I might have to zoom you guys out so you can see as I'm doing this a little better. I know you're like far away, but I'm going to be working here, so. So I'm going to put this on just like this, okay? And if you were hanging other things, if you had, I don't know, something you want to hang on here, now would be the time to do it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a loop for this. And literally all I'm going to do is I'm going to create an X. You can see this X right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bend this out at the X. Just a little smidge. So we got this. Okay. So now what I can do, since I have that, is I can crisscross these. And I'm just doing that so that the pendant doesn't get choked up. Okay, so this doesn't have to be pretty. All of this is going to be covered up. By this bead. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take both tails and put on my Z bead. Well, maybe I am. What's going on here? Uh-oh. I can barely see to the other side of this thing. And I see it's leaving all kinds of stuff on my mat. There must be something in there. Let me just pave the way here because there's a pretty big, this is a pretty big hole. Like I can barely get this little wire through there. Hopefully it'll be enough. There we go. Perfect. So, got her on there. And now, before I put on my topper, I'm going to take one strand here and I'm going to work down with it. And so basically all I'm doing is I'm just kind of taking my thumb and wrapping this around this bead just to give it a little something. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here, wrap around a few times. I want it to be excessive, that's the point. And I'm just going to leave that there, like so. I'm going to cut it off in the back, and I'm going to tuck that in. Okay. So now I got a little I got a little stuff going on with my Z bead. Pretty cool. Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm just going to use this as though it were a bead. I'm just going to put this right up through the middle. Okay. And in order to get this bead to stay on top how I think it should go, I'm going to go ahead with this bicone, which is going to sit right down in the top of there. And so you want to ask yourself, what do you want to have showing here? And I think I want to have this portion showing in the front. And I'm going to kind of press that bead down in there a little ways. And then I'm going to just wire wrap this square wire as I normally would. I'm debating if I want to do a large bail, if I want to do bunny ears. I got to think a minute. I think I'm just going to do a round. I think I'm just going to do a regular old round bail, because we're going to use this as part of different parts of the necklace. So I'm going to go ahead and take my bail making plier, and I'm going to use this larger portion, give it a little bend, and go around and literally just wire wrap this. I gotta make sure when I'm wire wrapping that I get down to this bead. I gotta get, the purpose of the wire wrap is to get this bead to stick down in there tight. So I gotta keep going, because that is part of the design. So I'm gonna check it. Can see how far I've gone down here to push that bead down in there. It's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. So I do want it to be a little tighter. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this. Now I want to make mention that this way is the way that I want the loop to be when I hang this, when we move on to the next portion. So I should be able to look through the loop and see my mat. Okay, that's the way I want it to be. I'm going to grab a hold here and try to get one more wrap on around, and then I am going to go ahead and I'm going to come back up with my wrap to make it messy. Just not hard for me. There we go. I'm going to tuck that in. I gotta get down here with my face so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I'm gonna check, see if anything's moving around on me the way I don't want. And it all looks pretty good. Pretty good. So now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna tighten. Now you gotta be careful when you're tightening, because you don't want to squeeze something and mar it up and get it where you don't want it, you know? So you kind of got to be careful with that. But as far as everything goes, this is going pretty well. I want this part to be able to move, because otherwise it'll snap the wire, so that's fine. And this is all pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that right there. And we're going to move on to the next step. But I'm going to clean my mat first, because whatever this is on there. I tried to clean it. It left a stain. So anyways, that's happening. Alright, so now we are ready to move on to the next step. So here's our pendant. And the next steps are utilizing our links and the rest of our little beads that we have designated for this. And we were going to do some rosary chain type doings here, and I believe it was going to be like so. So I'm going to do one side and show you how I do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish the other side, and then we're going to attach our leather. You could either do this with rivets or by wire wrapping. I'll probably just do it with wire wrapping, but we shall see when we get there. So let's get this first portion figured out. We're going to be utilizing our 22 gauge wire. If you wanted to use 20 gauge, you probably could. I don't have any 20 gauge. I got 18. And I just didn't feel like going through that endeavor. Okay, so I'm going to get a little smidge of this wire out. And basically all we're going to do is we're going to create links to link these together. So I am going to utilize jump rings for this first one because I want this to be able to move around. So we'll just do this side. So I am going to use a jump ring on this one. So to start out with this bead, I am just going to create a loop, closed up on this end because I'll be putting a jump ring in there. I'm going to wrap around 3 times. Oh. Turn the notifications off on my phone. And just get this all straightened out. I'm going to use one of the bicones. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so that's one. So this one I will attach with a jump ring. Now this one, I'm also going to be able to attach with a jump ring. So let me get the jump rings. If I use these large bronze jump rings, these are 8mm, I should be able to make this work out where I don't have to wire wrap the links, but we'll see. So 8mm oval jump rings. We sell these on Thunderhorse Descendant if you need some. Link onto there. Okay. And then this should fit, I hope. Hope it fits. Put it in there this way so the little thing is in the back. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, we should be okay. Cool. So it did work out pretty good. So now I need an oval on this side, but first I gotta wrap up my Z bead. So same thing, I'm just gonna wrap it up like this with 2 links on each side. Gonna go 3 times. That one got funny. There we go. Okay. My Z bead on there and do the exact same on the other side. And then to attach, same process. Take the oval jump ring, put that on there, and the bead. Close her up. Same thing here. Oh, kind of like this other side better with the paint. Close her up. Right. So that is looking pretty spectacular. So I'm going to jump off here and I'm going to do the other side so that we can move on to the leather. So I'm just going to do the same thing that I just did here, and I'll be right back. So I've got the other side completed, and now we are going to move on into riveting. So I decided to do riveting instead of doing the wire wrap on the leather, just because, I don't know, felt like it. So I was going to use this 24 gauge to do the wire wrapping around the leather. So if you don't have rivets, you can always do that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to get my little block and my rivet setter. So I have some little rivets. These are 5mm rivets, and they're snap rivets. So if you need some, I believe we have some on the website. I think we still have some of those sparkly ones left, but if not, then you don't got to worry about it too much. I'm in debate of how long I want this necklace to be. So I'm going to do the first set of rivets, and then we will move on to see about the ending of the necklace. But basically what I'm going to do here is I am just going to put this leather through here. Hope you guys can see me okay. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a tail. I can always cut that off. And I'm going to rivet onto here. So I need to take my hole puncher. So this is a 1.5mm hole punch. It's actually for metal. And I'm going to give it a little space. And I'm just going to punch hole. So and make sure that goes through all the way to the back side. Then I'm just going to cut off this little part that comes out. Now, my hole was a little bit off there in the front, it looks like. I better redo that. Okay. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach this onto here, so I just want to make sure that my hole is going to be in the middle of this leather in the top. That's better. So then once I have that in there, I'm just going to punch to the back through the same hole, just to give myself a little indentation. So there it is. I'm going to cut off that little piece. Now before I start riveting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rivet. I'm going to zoom you guys in a little more. I'm going to take my rivet and I'm going to put it through this hole to make sure it's going to fit in there. And also out through the back side. And that's how it's going to look. Okay. And so that's what I want to do. Now before I go to riveting, I'm going to do the other side of this. And And I'm basically going to use this one as a marker. And I'm just going to lay these on top of each other. And I'm going to make sure I'm going through this one, punch there, and make sure they're lined up, and punch that one as well. So now I have two, and I'm just going to clear the path for this one to make sure this is the same. And cut off any excess over here. Put my rivet through there again. There we go. And on the back side. Apparently the dogs are in the yard going crazy. Okay. So there we go. Got that ready to go. So now we know that it fits in there. Everything is all good. So now I'm going to rivet these. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bench block and I'm going to take my necklace and I'm going to do this side first, and I'm just going to put this around like this. Now if you were not riveting and you were going to do wire wrapping, you would just wire wrap right here. Easy peasy. So stick my rivet in here, and then I'm going to put on the back. So this is why they're snap rivets. Snap it on there, and this is a rivet setter, so it has a domed side and it has a flat side. So I'm going to want to put riveting on the domed side because this is a domed rivet. And also on the stick it has a domed side and a flat side, so I want to make sure I'm using the domed side. I'm going to put this on there and I got to get a hammer. And I'm just going to use this little hammer. And here we go with this. So this is just going to bite into itself and into the leather. So I want to hold it in a way that kind of makes it stay on there. And once I got it where I want it, I'm just going to hold it down like this. And hammer it in. And it has bit into the leather and is now set. So we're going to do the other side. And wait, this is, oh, got to put the whole side in there. And here's the hole for this side. And put the snap on. Okay. And there we go. So she's all riveted on. And we can move on to the next step. Now the next step is just finishing the necklace off. So a couple of things we could do. A couple of things. You could just leave it and you could just have them tie a knot. But I think what I'm going to do is you could use a slider bead as well if you wanted to use a slider bead, which is a pretty good option. I think I might do that. Let me see what I have in my little drawer of tricks over here. I just need a bronze. Bronze bead that has a wide enough hole to get both pieces of these leather through. Maybe one like this. This might be a little big, but we'll see. So, in order to get these through, because one end I cut off a little longer, I'm not going to mess around with that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm really going to cut a really sharp edge on here on both sides. And then put them in here. I might even have to go a little more. Oh, no, we got her. We got her. So now because I did cut one side, I got to make sure that I do get this one side pulled out of here so it is even. And you want to make sure, since I painted one side of the leather, that they're both coming up, you know, roses on this side. Everything is facing out the way it's supposed to be. And if you're having trouble with that, you just kind of got to twist these around inside of here so that they're laying correctly. And you can do that by moving the bead up and down the leather to get them right. So basically on the outside, they should be, the inside leathers that do not have paint should be facing each other. That's how you know you got it going on. And then I'm going to pull this back, front and back a little bit to make sure that it's good, which it seems to be. And then what I'm going to do here, you could do two things. You could tie each side, but I'm just going to tie one knot together. So with both of my, oh, I got this one flipped around. Both of my leathers facing the appropriate direction, which somehow I got this one facing the wrong way now. And pull it back down, flip it around. It's the wrong one. There we go. So that they are both facing, the insides are both blank. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and tie a knot up here. I'm just going to do an overhand knot. And now both leathers that are blank are on the outside because I tied the knot. And then I'm just going to cut this one so that they look nice. And that's all she wrote. We're donezo. See what we got. Yep, that's the back, and this is the front. All right, gravity. Get your doings on there. There we go. So this is what we have. I am pretty happy with it. I think it turned out really nice. And it's adjustable. I'll get you guys some photos, of course, so you can see a little better. I got my light box down here, so that's good. But yeah, I'll get some photos of it. But that is all she wrote for project number 2 from April's Bargain Bead Box. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, I would love to see what you made with yours. Please feel free to join in on the Thunderhorse Descendant Facebook group and share your photos of what you've made with the Bargain Bead Box. We would love to see. I also invite you all to come to the morning coffee on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to come and hang out with us, do beadie inspiration stuff. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you are, please make sure to leave it in the comment. Give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.